Chris, how are you?
I'm fine, Russell. You?
Yeah, not bad. 2025.
Yep.
New podcast. We haven't done one for a while, so I really wanted to do this. And
We done 2 last year.
yeah, in 12 months. So
1 and 2.
1 and 2. It's the 5th year of the anniversary. That's really what the thrust of this
5th year
podcast is going to
anniversary
be.
of what?
Of the foundation, the
That's it,
TEXO
mate. Well done,
Foundation.
thank you.
So looking back, 2020 was when you created the idea.
Yep.
Has it delivered on your expectations, and what did you want it to achieve? What did you want to achieve through it?
What did I want to achieve? It was more to do with helping local communities, giving back really. That was the main sort of focus of it, sort of looking at where we could sort of help support in and around where we sort of got locations. And I think we've achieved that to a certain degree. I think maybe some things come as a bit of a curveball that we shouldn't maybe have done, but I think just maybe more out of I think sometimes we kind of lost a bit of track of what the main foundation was supposed to be for. It sort of grew from sort of...
Is that because...
There's so many people sort of letters, so many people you sort of meet, and you obviously want to help everyone, but you can't. So it's being very selective. And maybe I think some of it, when you look back, maybe we could have, instead of helping that person, you could have done more somewhere else, if you get what I mean. And it's all about sort of, as we always said, it's not about sort of cash. It's more what we can actually physically do as a company to support and kind of grow, really.
But that is the danger, isn't it, of when you create something that really does give back to the community, is that once it begins to develop a reputation, you get inundated with and the thing is that we've all sat down around the table and looked at the submissions, and you just think these are all worthy. Oh my God, some of these are just, your heart pours out. You're brought to tears in some of them. But there is a finite resource, and it's just how does one become more important than the other? And I think, as you said, it's about aligning that. Then forget the emotions. Say, is this in line with?
That's it.
How does it help the community?
Yeah,
might help an individual, but how does that help the community? So it's about going back to the roots and looking at it and assessing it in that way.
Yeah, I think that's really what we want to focus on moving forward. It's what is more in line with what we're trying to achieve.
Yeah, exactly.
Rather than kind of trying to help everyone.
Yeah. Well, we can always try.
Yes.
We know that in life, it's full of doubters and people that question the motives of why companies develop foundations. Is it a PR purpose? However, I really wanted to sort of discuss some of because I've known you, people on the podcast we've spoken about, I've known you for 35 odd years, and we still talk to each other. And I know your path and your family and how your father, one of his fundamental drivers was giving back. How has that shaped you as a person? How is it seeing what your father did? How has that inspired you? And I know that we've had these conversations before, that you are yourself, you are your own man.
Yeah.
But you do get influenced by your family, your father, your mother. How did those principles filter into what you're doing now through in the foundation?
I think it's kind of just embedded in you. I think if you can kind of help and support and do what you sort of can to make a difference, I think it's very difficult to not be able to do that. So
well, a lot of companies do.
There's a lot of companies that sort of can and should, but they don't. But I think if you kind of got that morals and you can kind of sleep at night knowing you've sort of done something, I think that's really what you can do. Just want to make sure you kind of help as many people as possible and prove that you're not just there just to sort of take profits, give some of it back, help where you can.
Do you think, I know this is a very, and it's not on the script either, so do you think Aberdeen as a place allowed you to apply the foundation more effectively than than say London or any other city? The people, were they more sort of accepting in terms of, every city has its needs?
Yeah.
But did you think Aberdeen was a place that allowed you to deliver that in a more effective way?
Yeah, because I think obviously I think if you look at TEXO on a whole, obviously a lot of brand exposure in sort of Aberdeen, whereas other parts of the business in different parts of the country, we haven't really got that kind of name or that exposure. So it was obviously the best opportunity for us to really establish ourselves and really sort of put down roots of working with that sort of community. And then obviously having the support with the TEXO Foundation, and then obviously then moving into sort of Aberdeen Football Club, and just give us such a bigger reach. So you can really do a lot more in sort of Aberdeen. And yourself, when you're in Aberdeen, it's crazy. There's two scales of Aberdeen. Mm-hmm. You're either very wealthy or you're not, and that's it. There seems to be no middle ground. So there's a lot to support and a lot you can sort of do. So for me, I'd love to be able to replicate that more and more in the different locations. But again, it all comes back down to where TEXO sort of sit as that kind of exposure as a company and a business in these sort of certain areas.
And you said, one of the things you said there was really what the question was about, is that, was it easier to adopt it in Aberdeen? So one thing I found in Aberdeen is that
I think just to jump in on that, I think as you sort of said a minute ago, with there is a lot of companies, and I think you look at sort of Aberdeen itself, oil and gas, sort of a lot of big sort of companies there, and they don't do a lot. There's a lot of companies that don't actually give anything back really. So I think for us to sort of come in and to do that, people kind of revelled in it to a certain degree, that there was actually a company physically saying they're doing it and doing it.
Have you noticed other companies since sort of 2020, when sort of, TEXO really did promote the community side of it through obviously its relationship with Aberdeen Football Club and all the other initiatives? Have you seen an uptake in other companies sort of doing what we did?
Not to the degree.
No,
I think there's other people that are. Yeah, I think.
And that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to encourage the growth of it.
It's not a competition. You'd love more and more companies to sort of do it. Of course you would. It's not a case of like I look after them, you don't. It doesn't work like that. But I think it is becoming more evident that people are sort of giving back. And I think that's, for me, I see that more when it comes to sort of the TEXO Foundation. I think if you look at the sort of the Christmas Advent calendar, you see the amount of companies that done something every day. We done something one day, but there was another 24 days in that month, for people to do something. So it was great to sort of see other organisations giving up time, freeing up sort of profits to a certain degree to sort of help and support a much needed sort of charity.
We've discussed in the past some of the great recipients of the foundation, and we know, as we said, they're all deserving. But what's touched or pulled your emotional strings, or touched your emotion more than anything? Which one has achieved that, and why?
Two really.
Okay.
But I suppose the standout.
I did ask you which one, but we go.
I know you didn't know. I won't mention two, but there's always been sort of two, I think, and but probably out of them two, the main one is the Dow School, the train. That was just amazing. For us as a company, did it cost a lot? Not really. We kind of had the materials. It was really just sort of cost of labour to kind of be able to build what they needed for the train. And
just for people who don't know, sort of Dale's is a special needs.
Yeah, special needs school in sort of Blythe, and what they got donated a train carriage, and they wanted to turn that into a kind of a library for the children, but there was no access to it. So they asked us if we'd come in and sort of put a ramp in, and obviously do some other bits and pieces with the track, all this kind of stuff. But again, as we said, we've got this stuff at our disposal. But it was just obviously getting the guys to sort of fabricate it, build it and install it. So easy enough job for us to do, but when you actually physically see that finished, see the children, see how interactive they are with it, see how happy it made them, it was amazing to sort of see.
The one thing that sort of took me by surprise, and I was lucky enough to sort of visit it, is not necessarily the children and their reaction. It was the teachers reaction. I couldn't believe how it, and emotionally, we were just talking to them outside, and they were in tears in terms of what it had allowed them to for their own sort of mental well-being, but what it allowed them to actually give the children. It was just mind-boggling. I couldn't believe it.
And I suppose for them, it's a thought, it's an idea, and then all of a sudden it comes together, and you can see how much of an impact. It's fantastic to sort of see, and to be there. Obviously, me and Alan went there for the opening, and see the children there. We had all sort of TEXO hard hats and TEXO high vis and flags, and it was just great to see. See these kids sort of really, really sort of enjoy it and appreciate it.
One thing I don't think we talk about enough about the foundation is how the staff, what does it mean for TEXO internally? How do the staff benefit? What does it mean to them? How do you think that they've evolved with the foundation over the 5 years?
So that's a difficult question, really, because I think you've got core people that understand exactly what we do, and I think you've got people that don't understand what we sort of do. I think that goes back to, as we sort of said, started in sort of 2020, COVID, bad times, sort of losses. So, but to carry on doing what we do with the foundation and making sure that we still sort of give back during them bad times, I think that was hard for some people to understand, because I think they would probably rather that, what people say. A lot of people say charity starts at home, and I do understand that. But we were trying to do something, and I didn't want to sort of change that. We set something in place. We was going to do it, and we carried on to sort of do it. So, was I wrong to sort of do that? Should I have given that back to the staff? No, it's for me. I don't believe in that, And so you have got a kind of a bit of a difference when it comes to sort of what staff perceive of the foundation, and staff that absolutely love it, completely appreciate why we do it, and you've got to understand, as much as we sort of sit here and look at TEXO as a whole of our sort of journey and how we've gone from sort of A to B overnight, is that because of hard work and determination and the quality of work we do? Of course it has. But there's a big element of that, of what we do as a company with the local community, with the charities and things like this. It's all stuff that kind of puts you in a different position. So if anyone sits there and says that doesn't make a blind bit of difference to any of our success, they're completely wrong.
But so that brings me really back to one of the questions I asked previously, is about how much was the foundation done purely to achieve a foundation perspective, to actually give back to the community, or how much was it done for a PR perspective?
Yeah,
that's what people will.
And there's an element of truth in that. Yeah. As I sort of said to you, it was done for a reason. It was done purely for giving back to the local community. And that was the idea, and that was the concept. But you have to remember, roll the clock back to sort of 2019. TEXO did have a great name, a very bad sort of stigma around us. So obviously part of that sort of revamping to kind of rebuild sort of TEXO into what you sort of see it is today, that helped. That really did help, to kind of be able to sort of be the good guys, not be the bad guys as it was pre-2019, but to really sort of to show everyone that this is the company we are moving forward, and we do what we say on the tin. We are going to sort of support the local communities and local sort of charities. So yeah, there obviously was an element of sort of PR. We needed a bit of PR. We needed some good PR. But regardless if there was any kind of stigma around us at the beginning, the foundation would have been born, and the work, and we would have been carrying on doing what we're doing.
5th year.
Yep.
What's in store? What can the listeners be sort of looking out for in the 5th year? What are we doing? Some of the things that we're going to try and achieve.
We obviously want to do. I think obviously for us, our charity of choice at the beginning, which our main sort of charity is the Archie Foundation, and really want to sort of go back to that, revisit that this year. Look at what we can do. What is there out there that they really need help and support on? And I know they've sort of earmarked a couple of sort of projects, and the good thing about these 2 projects is they are in Dundee. So kind of moving away from sort of Aberdeen to a certain degree, but still under the Archie umbrella. But again, these will be projects where we haven't got to throw money at it really. This will go back to the original of what we sort of started when it comes to actually physically our time.
But this, I wanted to just, sorry to try, I wanted to try and pin you down on that, because it's one of the questions I was asking, is the model of the foundation was, obviously there's been money that's been contributed to a lot of the recipients, but it's really looking at what the skill sets of TEXO are.
Yeah.
Whether that's from drone flying to putting a toilet in, refurbing. It's not about the money per se, it's about the skill sets.
Yeah.
So what project would you, that we can try and sort of visualise for the audience, has allowed us to achieve that goal by putting more assets in rather than financial?
Well, there's a few, obviously, as we just said, with the
Dow's
school. You've got obviously Kirkhill Primary School, but a kitchen. That's stuff that we had.
That's the one that stands out.
That's what I'm saying to me. It's stuff that we had. We didn't have to go and purchase a kitchen and all the appliances. We kind of had that. We've got suppliers. We've got good relationships with people. So we can call upon this stuff whenever we sort of need it. The element of that comes back to, yes, there's time. And that costs.
The physicality of
time. Our guys go into site, building
the skills that we've
got to pay them guys to sort of do it. That's where the cost comes into it.
So there is always a cost.
Always a cost,
but it's not handing. What we tried to do, in my opinion, was I see a lot of time money gets given to an organisation. You don't quite know how that's being managed.
You don't know what happens with it.
You don't know. Was anything wasted? Did anything not go? And we are able to control that narrative where we know, right. So it's going to cost us X amount. We're going to manage that. We're going to go in. We're going to do the project management. We're going to do the fitting. We're going to do, and I think at the end of the day, they get a much better product, a much better deliverable.
And it is as I sort of said, because we've got this stuff at our disposal, and it is kind of just an element of sort of the guys' time. What they'll find is they'll get more than what they expected at the beginning, because when you're in there and you're doing stuff, you start to notice. Hang on a minute. Put a brand new kitchen in there, now the place looks terrible. So we better carry on doing some more work, because you're just going to have this amazing kitchen in a terrible room. So you find that you're constantly just doing more and more upgrades as you sort of go on. So they get more than what they expected at the beginning. And I think really that's always been the focus. It's what we can physically do that's going to change people's lives overnight. And I think Dow School, Kirkhill Primary School were two things that literally changed these kids' lives overnight, and it was just amazing to sort of be there, a part of it, and see the kind of, especially with the school, to see such a simple thing of cooking that we all take for granted. Some of these kids couldn't even have a knife and fork, So to learn these skills that you'd think everyone would have, and they could then sort of be able to cook in school and take home meals for their parents. It's mind-blowing.
Well, when I was there, what I didn't quite understand as well and they're not necessarily in a city; they're just on the outskirts of Aberdeen. But the children didn't know what fruit and vegetables were.
No,
they didn't know what some of them had never seen a carrot.
That's what I mean. It's crazy.
And I was just thinking, wow, and it's again, it's that in community involvement. Yeah, it ran through from school, child, parent. Yeah. It was that educational process, which was just phenomenal. And it's, in one respect, I know that's the past, but it's it's allowed us to learn. I think, especially now when we're heading into the 5th anniversary, it's allowed us to learn to be more creative, more productive. But there's a couple of initiatives that we're going to be working with Archie on. I'm not going to necessarily go into the specifics because we're still ironing a lot of that out. But how has that positioned us to work with Archie, do you think? Has it made us a better partner for Archie in terms of what we can deliver for them? I
don't know really. I don't know where we kind of sit within the Archie sort of foundation to a certain degree. They'll always come and ask us, always call upon us, and if we can help and support, of course we will. Are we their sort of go-to? I don't know. There's other bigger companies out there that do sort of support the Archie Foundation, so where we sort of sit in that kind of food chain. But what we do try and do is everything we do for them, it's something that's going to make a difference. I'm not just going to go and buy them something.
Yeah.
You know, it defeats the object. You know,
There is a difference that I think of the TEXO mentality, and we often say that the TEXO family, and together we are one, and we'll come on to that in a second, is that I was speaking to a couple of the Archie Foundation people the other week, and they were saying it's very unusual for companies to be as involved in the initiative.
Yeah.
And whether that was the Archie Ball or anything, because they turn around and say the TEXO Foundation doesn't just give or contribute, it attends.
Yeah.
And I think that's a huge, it's a huge plus for the organisation. And it sort of comes back to how the staff get involved.
Yeah.
And they want to be part of it.
And you need more and more staff involved, because the more people you're involved with it, the more they see what impact it has, the more you can't help but want to do more and more and more. You know, that's where really we sort of started to hand over some of this responsibility to the staff, because it's okay for me to sort of sit there in their eyes thinking, oh, more money being thrown at this. Well, get involved. You'll see it's not all about the money. You know, even looking at the ab sale for Archie for Christmas. Yes, again, it goes back to a couple of guys on a rope. Yeah, we've got to pay their wages. But that was all done internally. We managed to turn that into a fundraising event through work, through sort of TEXO, that not only did we have the guys sort of hanging there on ropes, dressed as Father Christmas and an elf, for seeing these children, but we managed to have presents for every one of the children and money left over to donate to the Archie Foundation. So that's amazing to sort of see that. It's probably the first time we've kind of all come together to really sort of deliver as a sort of a company, instead of it just being kind of me or Alan or yourself sort of visiting and sort of getting involved.
But I saw the photographs of the sort of massive presents that were being donated and then being delivered. But it's and some of these photographs were the original photographs were taken during the COVID pandemic, where people couldn't go into the hospital,
Yeah.
so they did the ab sale, and they'd left it for a year or two, and I hadn't seen these images, and then all of a sudden the images came through of there was Father Christmas and an elf hanging from a rope, and these children are obviously in over Christmas, and just that community spirit of the hospital, the nurses, the doctors all coming together. There wasn't an amount of money that you could have given to have created that sort of ambience and feeling.
No. And I was inside. While they were saying on the outside, you know, so you see it firsthand. Didn't get the luxury the first time around, but to be there watching the guys coming down, the anticipation of the children trying to look up to see if they can see his feet, you know, it was just amazing to sort of be there. But it wasn't.
Did you write TEXO on the bottom of his feet as he was coming?
Of course, you've got to get branded. But it wasn't even sort of. It wasn't just the children. It was the staff. Everyone was excited. You know, it was great to sort of see it. The whole room was buzzing. So it was great to sort of be part of that and to sort of see what impact the guys had. 5 minutes in front of the window is a memory for them children forever. You know, it's amazing.
I know we covered it a little bit, but how does the foundation mould TEXO?
How does it mould us?
How does it define you?
I think it just defines that sort
Rather
of
than the other way around, how does TEXO?
Yeah, I think it's that motto. It's that together we are one. You know, we're not just together as one as a sort of a company. We're together as one as kind of where we are as a sort of a business, and it's really getting the local community to understand that and to buy into what we sort of try and do, to try and be different. So I think for me that sort of defines what
the togetherness.
Togetherness, yeah.
And this is sort of actually leads on to the next. You know, if you said, you know, together we are one. How that singular statement, the idea of philosophy empowers, and the very meaning of that mission of TEXO. But what does that have to do with the unwavering relationship between Archie Foundation and TEXO?
As in, sorry.
Well, the together we are one.
Yeah.
Why has Archie become such a emotional partner with the foundation to TEXO? As we said before, there are so many out there Why is it that sort of comfort factor that we have as an organisation?
I don't know if it's a comfort factor. I just think
it's a question, isn't it?
Yeah,
where do we get that sort of loyalty from? Them?
I think personally for me, I think I sort of mentioned it the other week. You know, when we was talking about it, it's me as a sort of a parent with children. A couple of my children were sort of in Great Ormond Street, London, which is obviously the equivalent to the sort of Archie Hospital, and so I spent a bit of time there, and sad place to sort of be, you know, and fortunately enough my kids were not in the same position as some of these children, but it was really difficult to sort of be there any length of time to sort of see what sort of goes on and to see how hard the staff work on a day-to-day basis and what they've done for the actual parents and how he was made to feel, you know. So I think for me to sort of move forward after all them sort of bad times into where we are now and to sort of have the opportunity with the Archie Foundation, it brings it all back. And where you can really make a bit of a difference, for me, it's always got to be our kind of number one charity of choice. And it's so big, you can never do enough for them, you know. So, but what we can do, hopefully, is meaningful enough to kind of make a difference to not only the children but the staff that sort of work there as well.
It's a peripheral sort of question. Is that, are you ever surprised that the need of these organisations is as vast as it is?
I'm not surprised. Never get surprised.
Disappointed?
Yeah, well, because they're always disappointed, you know.
I know it's not. We won't go into politics, but
no,
we all put our taxes together. But the thing is that these organisations continually need external.
But there's so many of them, Russ. That's the trouble. It's not just the Archie Foundation, is it, or the Archie Hospital? There's plenty more hospitals like that out there, you know. So there's only so much that can go around. So they need a lot of support and a lot of help from whoever can kind of come in and sort of help. You know, it's even funny, which is what people don't see. You know, I sort of, when we done the Archie Absal, I was talking to Paula and from the Archie Foundation, and during Christmas, it's their kind of, wouldn't say a quiet period, but they obviously have their Christmas holidays and they go home. But even Paula was coming in on a day-to-day basis to stock up the vending machines.
Right, and Paula's the CEO.
CEO of the company.
Yeah.
So, you know, so it's the things that they do that you wouldn't see unless you're in it. Unless you spend time with these people to see how far and above they go over the top.
And actually, I just want to sort of endorse that, because they're obviously, and I don't want to sort of say that other CEOs of other NHS trusts and charities don't go above and beyond, but I've never seen a CEO. She did the bike ride.
Yeah.
I can't remember if John O'Groats to Land's End. And she was in pain.
Yeah.
And that was specifically to raise money for the foundation, for the Archie Foundation. Yeah. And I couldn't believe that she put herself through that as a CEO, because you don't have to.
No.
And that's a huge endorsement to the I think that relationship that we have, because their sort of principles are so aligned to ours. And that, again, I'm trying to come back to why we're so aligned with the Archie Foundations and not. They've got one of the last questions. It's team. So we're not just a team because we work together at TEXO. We're a team because we respect, trust, and care each other. How does that influence and drive the foundation, the TEXO Foundation?
I don't know. You know, it's really trying to breed
core, isn't it?
If you've got a core. And that core staff,
their passion and their sort of enthusiasm. If I was looking at some of the staff, and I'm not going to name them individually because it'd be unfair, but I know that there's some of them that will give their Christmas, a lot of their Christmas money, to buy those presents.
Yeah,
and not just the interesting thing is it's, and we talk more broadly about why we're doing this 5th anniversary because of that passion, because of the relationship. Is that some of those TEXO staff got their entire families involved in wrapping the presents. So it's that trust, that care, that respect is the principles of really the core mission, vision, and values internally of TEXO, and is that togetherness, we are one, looking after staff, and through that engagement, it's allowed the foundation, in sort of some of my thoughts, to grow well beyond what we ever thought it might achieve.
Yeah.
So how much is that internal development of staff mentality, the well-being of the staff, do you think sort of helped to achieve that relationship with staff? Because you have people don't understand necessarily, it's a very flat management system, your door's open. It's not like a big conglomerate where you will never see the CEO. We're walking around, we're laughing, joking, and I think that has an impact of, again, not for everyone, but I think it in general allows the company to achieve more through these sorts of initiatives.
Yeah.
If we were going to end this now, which on the last question, Chris, is that if we're sat here and it'll be the 6th anniversary, but we're not necessarily going to we're going to put all our efforts into this year. What do you want it to be really, what do we want to remember it by? What do we want to achieve?
Kind of really want to sort of take time to look back and see what we have done, what we've done over them 5 years, what impact we've made, see where our support has kind of got these people from day dot to where they are now, Really nice to be able to sort of harness that and look back and take stock of some of the things we've sort of done. And then obviously looking forward to this year, it's moving forward to what else we can sort of do, what other impacts we can sort of make, and where do we take it, It's not saying it's going to finish up for 5 years. You want this to continue for as long as I'm around, definitely, So.
Actually, to add to that is if you just sort of take us through how we've got the staff more involved with the day-to-day running of the foundation.
Yeah, as I said, I think it's just that more that kind of level of engagement. Everything we do now is sort of based around the foundation. So even when we kind of get new starts in, there's the new start induction, we talk about the foundation in that, and it's amazing. Obviously, I do a lot of interviews, and when you sort of talk to people about sort of TEXO and what do you know about us, a lot of people will mention the foundation, and a lot of people will mention podcasts. So it's a shame that you're kind of attracting people from the outside to come and join you because of what we do in the local community and the kind of work we do when you've still got sort of people sitting inside the organisation, see it on a daily basis, but don't really kind of.
But eventually it's going to influence
the
non-believers, but that's why I said about the doubters at the beginning.
We're
always going to have those.
It's not going to change what we do, definitely
no.
not. They would just get on board slowly, but as I sort of said, it's always been that ambition for me to get more and more staff members involved in what we sort of do. And we do that on a daily basis, and I think you can start to see that people are engaging, are taking more of a sort of an interest in it, seeing it firsthand, what difference it does sort of make, employee network, what we've introduced.
That's what I really wanted you to sort of touch on.
Yeah, we've obviously got the employee network sort of started, and that's someone from each part of the different businesses or different services, and part of their job they've been handed over the kind of the foundation and the challenge sort of TEXO. So again, you've got more people involved in that, seeing that firsthand, getting them requests come through, making the decisions on their own, looking at is it the right fit for sort of TEXO in what we try and do as a foundation. So the more people you get into it, the more they buy into it, the more the word spread, and the more people start to understand that it doesn't matter how much you moan about it, it's not going away. It's going to be here next week and the year after, and you're just going to have to get used to it and get on board with it. And that's really where I sort of see it.
Good. Chris, thank you very much. I think that was a very informative discussion about the 5th anniversary. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Russ.